in songwriting is the
One
ending
more time?
of The Last Great American Dynasty.
Oh,
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, sorry.
It is just
Absolutely true.
so.
Welcome, my famous fans. My name is Mario, and we are back today in our lovely Fanboy corner to react to Taylor Swift's interview in the New York Times talking about her songwriting. Oh my god, guys, I cannot tell you how much excited I am for this. Today it's Tuesday, and this was released on Friday or Thursday. I don't remember. So it's been a lot of days that I've been waiting for this to be uploaded on YouTube so I can react to it and hopefully don't get copyrighted, because people have told me that this is really interesting. I mean, what a blessing. 30 minutes of Taylor Alison Swift talking about her songwriting. Please give me the 10-minute version, like the 10-hour version. Oh, guys, I'm so excited. So I will be reacting to it, and we will be pausing and chatting about all this interesting stuff that she says. That way I won't talk on top of her. Maybe this video is going to be a little bit long, but I hope that you can enjoy it with me. And if it gets copyrighted, I will upload it on Patreon for free, and I will try to do kind of a breakdown video for YouTube. Alright, let's go, Swifties. This is like, you know what it means to us, right? Like, I'm wearing my artistry shirt because this is such a special occasion. Which some people would not understand how much this means to us, right? Anyway, if you're starting to like my content, if you enjoy my company, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss anything that I will put out in the future. You have a lot of Taylor content on this channel. You can check my last video about Future Boys, which got a little bit lost, but I hope that you like it if you watch it. Let's go! She looks stunning, oh my god. What about that story thing and that countdown? Like, is she trying to kill us? Was that a mistake? I'm not quite sure, but I hope she does something.
It's still such a mystery to me, even though I've been writing songs for so long, and I've started songs and finished songs so many different ways. They've gone through so many journeys. They've happened quickly. They've happened over time. They've been inspired by my life, by mythology, by fables, by books, by movies, by characters, by warnings, lessons, and
By everything.
and they never quite happen exactly the same way, and I still don't quite understand how it works. I have this very strong opinion that when you're young, you feel things on such a intense and detailed level. There's an attention to detail when you are like 17 to 22 years old and you're longing, or you're reaching and grasping but never holding someone's attention or someone's love or someone's dedication, and you can't understand why. You spend all day thinking about it. You notice everything. You notice candle ash on the cuff of the shirt and the button, and it's everything that makes the mythology of those intense feelings that you have.
The way she words sentences is just like a proof of how songwriting is part of her person and authenticity. You can see that through, like, and hear that through the way she talks and all the details that she gives us. Like, sometimes I feel like when I'm listening to her talking, it's like she's like reading one of her songs. Like, imagine her writing a song about how it feels to write songs. You know what I mean? And also what she said at first, it's really interesting that she doesn't quite know, because that's also kind of a proof. Yes, she'll learn how to do it and she got better with age, but that's something she was born to too. The way she's able to write universal feelings that are also about her life, and just the fact that she's so acclaimed as a songwriter, it's a talent that you also have to be good at, like, naturally. You know what I mean? That's why she sometimes cannot understand where that is coming from. Sorry.
And I've always tried
so
to
happy, so happy.
without being a completely unhinged adult, keep that level of detail and intensity when it comes to trying to describe a feeling. I started writing songs when I was 12. As soon as my love for singing and picking up an instrument happened, songwriting just spontaneously started becoming the entire cornerstone of my life. I think the first
influences
that I fell in love with was the type of songwriting that I think folk and country is really kind of known for. It's like that story time structure. Songs like Harper Valley PTA or Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, or like, you know, any amazing Kenny Chesney song where like a hypothetical structure would be, first verse, little girl, learns a lesson that in the chorus her mom teaches her about. Then the little girl grows up and now she's a teenager and she realizes, oh my God, my mom was right about this. Now the second time you hear the hook, that same hook means something a little bit different because she's like grown up in her life.
Is that okay?
Then the bridge, maybe she goes on in her life. She has a little girl. She imparts that wisdom onto her.
No.
And then if you really want to get me to cry, like bring back that same first line of the song and end the song with it. So that was the first thing that made me think it's got to be country music.
Oh my God, she just described what is Taylor Swift's song feels like. Literally, a whole journey, a whole story, a progression of the story. And she's right, country does that a lot. 15.
That was the first type that I really fell in love with. But then lyricism, I was the most intensely impacted by emo music. Dashboard Confessional,
Emo
Chris
music.
Carrabba, Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz's lyrics, how they take a common phrase and then they just twist the knife of it, right? Like, I'm just a notch in your bedpost, but you're just a line in a song. Drop a heart, break a name, right? Like, it's drop a name, break a heart. But they switched it. And those are the kind of lyrics where I would read the lyrics to those songs or the specificity of Hands Down by Dashboard Confessional, where I'd be reading those lyrics and I'd just finish reading a line and just go, oh my God. I got a publishing deal when I was 14. I was signed by a guy named Arthur Buenahora at Sony, and he just believed that I had a perspective that mattered. And I actually asked him if he could hold my songs from being pitched to other artists. I was like, just give me some time to try to get a record deal. I'm gonna try so hard. I could almost compare it to the Brill Building. They have these offices on Music Row, or at least they had a lot of them then, that were like these small houses, these like cottages and bungalows. Now we have really tall buildings. Basically, you'd go there and there'd be 3 songwriters writing in this room, 3 songwriters in this room, 4 in this room, 2 in this room.
This is so interesting, oh my God.
And I would just go to school, then my mom would drive me downtown, 30 minutes, and I would go and I'd have a songwriting session with someone that I'd never met before, but I really didn't want to come in unprepared, so I'd walk in with 4 to 5 nearly finished things, 2 half-finished things, 10 hooks, because I just never wanted people to be like, yeah, there's this like little kid that thinks she can swan her way into Music Row and just like write songs with these hit songwriters. But I think one of my favorite things about the Nashville music scene, country music and the storytelling where it was when I arrived there, there was almost this tradition of sort of breaking the fourth wall, making the song then a part of the song, or the writing of the song becomes a part of the song. And I did that.
I need to hear all that again.
Country music and the storytelling where it was when I arrived there. There was almost this tradition of sort of breaking the fourth wall, making the song then a part of the song, or the writing of the song becomes a part of the song. And I did that in a song called Tim McGraw, where, I'm singing about this kind of love lost and hoping that person thinks of me, and then in the bridge it's revealed that I wrote this song and I hope he hears it. The song Our Song, which I still love so much, it's all about this romance and this relationship, and then in the end it says, I grabbed a pen and an old napkin and I wrote down our song. So
I always thought about that line, which literally can mean 2 things. She wrote down our song, like the song that's called Our Song, the song we know. But she also wrote our song as in the song of his love, in her love interest and her. You know what I mean? So yes, I love when she kind of did that with breaking the fourth wall, and also with Tim McGraw. That's a really good example. Like how she was able to word things like that by that time. It's really, really interesting. And I love hearing that it was a thing that they used to do, like breaking the fourth wall. That's really cool.
I love doing that. The kind of just like, and it was me.
I like to think about me. Wrote down our song.
My favorite end plot twist, I think, that I've done in songwriting is the ending of The Last Great American Dynasty.
Oh,
that's my favorite one.
Yeah, sorry.
It is just
absolutely true.
So much fun to
absolutely true.
To tell this story about this real woman who lived in history and she defied the social norms and she drove people crazy and she had a marvelous time ruining everything. And you talk about the house she lived in on the coast. And basically then in the end, you're like, you know, she moved away from Holiday House. It sat quietly on that beach, free of women with madness, their men and bad habits, and then it was bought by me. And you're like,
No, girl, what do you mean? This song, I just cannot describe with words how much I love this song, how much I love the fucking bridge, how much comfort this song gives me, and how gagged I was at the first time I listened to it, and I was like, what is she talking about this? What is she trying to tell us? And then all of a sudden, and then it was bought by me, and I was like, oh my god. And I was thinking about Nobody No Crime, but then I realized that this one is more of a plot twist because on the other one you can kind of imagine what's gonna happen. So I kind of a little bit.
every time I get to that part when I would sing it on tour, I just like have
And then
to
you removed
kind of,
it.
like I wanted my grin to go from here to here, but that looks crazy. So it's like I had to like taper down my own excitement that hook happened.
No,
I learned
please.
you can't ever really tell if other people are gonna like it, but
Don't
oftentimes
talk to
when
me about
I
that.
love it
The loss
to
of
a
my
certain
life.
degree, but oftentimes when I love it to a certain degree, that kind of tends to match up with people. And it could be that it doesn't match up with the way people feel till six years later. I loved the Reputation album. I was like, you guys say what you want. I know what I did. I love it. Like, go with God, sorry. Like, you can come around if you want. It's okay if you don't. And then, you know, 6 or 7 years later, people are like, oh my God, like, ready for it. Like, people slept on that song.
Are you ready for
Yes, and that happens a lot with Taylor
When we were
albums
making that
in
song,
general.
I just remember like I wanted to like headbang myself through a wall. I felt that when we wrote Ready for It. I felt that way during writing Getaway Car. I felt that way. I think the first time I felt like
Getaway
I
Car,
don't
oh
care
my
if
God.
people hate this because I love it so much was when I wrote the song Love Story. When I was 17, sitting in my bedroom.
And you know what? That is a needed mindset. I mean, of course, you can listen to your fans and you can improve and learn from experiences, but you need to do what you like. Sometimes I get sad when a video doesn't get a lot of views, but I'm still gonna do it, not gonna remove that video or delete it because I love doing that video. That's why I did it. If not, I would not react to it. I would not do that breakdown, whatever. So the fact that she trusts herself and does what feels true to her, I think it's another reason why people connect with her so much. And of course, there's not going to be a song that is loved by everyone, but what can you do? That's why I love her with The Life of a Showgirl. She likes it, she loves it, she doesn't care about the hate. You go, girl, honestly. And yes, Reputation had that effect, and it was one of the most outstanding effects in that sense because now it's became a fan favorite album. I mean, the Total Boys, The Burning was hated at first, Midnight was hated at first. All of the albums have had that, but I feel like Reputation was such a wow, like people realizing that it's just so good. Like it's so good. And Getaway Car, my second all-time favorite Taylor Swift song.
17, sitting in my bedroom, mad at my parents because they wouldn't let me go on a date with a guy who was too old, so I shouldn't have been on a date with him anyway. And this is why you need to discipline your kids because they might write songs that go number one.
She's so funny. You need to educate your kids because if they are mad and they write a song about that person who they not should be dating on the first place and it goes number one, then what are you going to do about it? No.
Old, so I shouldn't have been on a date with him anyway. And this is why you need to discipline your kids because they might write songs that go number one.
Just like that.
When I wrote Speak Now, I was 18 and 19. And I was coming from this big, massive moment that I had with an album called Fearless. And it had won Album of the Year at the Grammys. And it was this big, it was the first time there was like this big debate over whether I deserved to be there. There are always going to be like little debates. Do you know what I mean? But this was like headline news. I was like, these discussions can lead to a really bad place if I don't do something to counteract them and to prove that, no, it wasn't my co-writers that did all this work. And yes, I am the author of this entire body of work that I was very proud of. I'd written so many songs alone, and I love collaboration. I love co-writers, but it's not something that I needed. It's when I started to trust myself as an editor, because a lot of what I'll do in a session, even now, and one of the reasons why Liz Rose and Jack Antonoff became like people that I loved to write with for albums and albums, is because I'll have this stream of consciousness pouring out, and Liz would sit there with a notepad. But when you take that away, I just started, recording everything, right? Recording everything on a voice memo, because there will be times when I'm like kind of in a zone and I'm writing so fast that there's no chance I'm going to remember what that melody was that I did, 2 minutes ago.
Can you imagine? You forget that?
That was a really important album for me in terms of
cry.
In terms of becoming a writer that knew I could trust my own intuition.
Own intuition, and the Speak Now is such a masterpiece lyric-wise, well, everything-wise, but like, how can she write Enchanted at that age, all alone, cheering on, innocent, like, girl, honestly, no. Like, I understand why you trust yourself, honestly. And of course, you can have input of other people and stuff, but it's so clear when you hear a Taylor Swift song that it's her doing the main thing on the songwriting. You know it's a Taylor Swift song. That's why sometimes when another artist does something similar to Taylor, not because they are copying her, because it's something other people can do too. For example, How Bad Do You Want Me? Lady Gaga, we talked about this already. You can say, oh my God, this reminds me of Taylor Swift, because she does things in such a her and unique way. That's why we know, if you know her, that Fearless was written from her, and all the other albums that have co-writers too.
I have little phonetic things. I love alliterations. I love, two words that start with the same letter. Love that.
Yes.
I don't like to have a word end with the same letter that the next word starts with. For example, in the song, Our Song, it was supposed to be when you're on the phone and you talk real low. But I was like, I don't like the real low. So it's turned into when you talk real slow. Certain words just like fly for me.
Oh my God.
And I think one of the reasons I
so
like to take either age-old cautionary sort of phrases or things that you've heard in books, films, kind of these classic lines, and then repurposing them, inverting them, or like redefining them in some way, is because I sort of love the combination of modern vernacular and sort of old world or classic timeless speak. So in the song The Fate of Ophelia, there's a lot of sort of modern terminology and speak and kind of common phrases from the way that we talk now. But there's also, like in the bridge, there's a line from Hamlet that I repurposed.
Locked inside my memory and only you possess.
She's so clever,
I really
she's so
gravitate towards juxtaposition
educated,
and
and so cultivated. Like, I feel stupid, like, next to her, honestly.
I really gravitate towards juxtaposition and polarity in a line, right? So, hey, what could you possibly get for the girl who has everything and nothing all at once? Our coming of age has come and gone. You take one word that's at the beginning of the phrase and then you take its opposite, because ultimately, like, we are all filled with polarity, hypocrisy, these kind of battling features and factors that make up our jagged personalities. I have my phone and I have this file where I'll just be like, I know I like that, or I know I like that word, or I know I like that question. And then when I'll go into a session, I don't have social media on my phone. Like, it looks like I'm just endlessly scrolling, but I'm scrolling through the words in my file. If we're in the middle of writing a song, I'm searching for a perfect line that I thought of 4 years ago at 3 a.m.
No, because we could literally tell that her mind is so alive, and not in an ironic way. Like, I imagine her in her daily life, like just having some coffee, and then he hears someone on the street, mouse. Oh my god, mouse! I need to write this just in case I need it. All the day. She never takes a break. She's always thinking. So her mind is so alive. That is impressive. And that's why I believe on the ball tracks, and that's why I believe on when she says that she was like wanting to write about something for a long time, for example, with the last Great American Dynasty, because she truly takes everything that has been going through her head for all the years, and that's why also her discography feels so like full body of work, and there's a lot of connections, because I'm pretty sure that she always thinks about things to put in a song, and maybe she doesn't put them in that song, but then she puts it in a future song, and those two songs get connected somehow because of that. You know what I mean? Wow. Taylor
4 years
Swift.
ago at 3 in the morning. I think the
Bridges.
importance for me of a bridge, it just feels like we're painting a picture, we're setting a scene. We have this opportunity as a songwriter to tell an entire story, an entire movie, or a very detailed description of one scene in a movie, or a very nuanced dynamic between people, or a complicated emotion. And we have only so long to do this, you know? I've written some really long songs in my life, but for the most part, they're between 3.5 and 4 minutes. You can
Yes.
start like painting the picture in the verse. You can get to the heart of it at the chorus, but then the bridge can be where
Yes,
you
yes,
zoom back, you walk
yes.
20 feet back, and you see what this entire painting was supposed to be. Like, you've seen brushstrokes, you've seen the color tones, but the bridge can be when you step back and you feel everything that piece of art was supposed to make you feel. That's just how I feel about bridges.
That's why there's a lot of important information on her bridges. They are the quintessential part of the song. Dress is a perfect example of that. Like, oh my god, she tells us everything on that goddamn bridge. I mean, I've never, ever, ever heard better bridges than her. You could argue some better hooks, better choruses, better verses, even though she's perfect at everything, of course. But you can tell, like, I love a lot of artists with great stuff like that. With bridges, I mean, I could pin out like some bridges that I loved as much as her bridges. For example, the Vampire Bridge by Olivia Rodrigo and stuff. But it's such like the best part of their song. I will do a video ranking her best bridges, in my opinion, really soon, guys. That video is coming really soon. It's really hard to pick.
Where structure is a huge part of how you effectively tell a story, right? You go verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Maybe you repeat that first verse if you want to pull at some heartstrings, if it makes sense. Now, that's something that I absolutely subscribe to, that idea that it's, you know, structure is important. But I think that when you write enough songs, and at least in my case, the intuitive part of your songwriting brain can kind of create a new structure that's not as classically what you've been taught. Like, Jack Antonoff is a collaborator of mine and one of my best friends. We established this thing that we love to do, and we call it the rant bridge. I can
Yes!
point to examples like Out of the Woods, Is It Over Now, Cruel Summer, and oftentimes we love these rant bridges where it's basically like stream of consciousness, endless pouring out of emotion, intrusive thoughts, like blended with metaphor, with discussion, with shouting. Like, you want this rant bridge to feel the most intense of what that feeling is that you're trying to establish over the course of the song. And you want it to kind of be a crescendo. We usually...
That is what you call a Jack Antonoff bridge. You're on your own gate, guys. You're on your own gate. He's different. You're losing me. That 1,000 cats. Oh my god, there's champagne problems. The best ones. Basically the best ones.
We usually love those so much that we then bring them back. So we'll go
On the outro.
You know, verse, chorus, rant bridge. Sometimes like a little post coda to that rant bridge. Last chorus. Bring the rant bridge back, maybe with the chorus chords underneath it. The Mirror Ball bridge. This was Jack sending me a track during COVID, and me immediately knowing that it needed to be about how I felt as a performer and an entertainer within this moment when entertainment and art has effectively shut down. I'm still gonna stand on this tightrope. I'm still up on the trapeze. I'm still gonna try to do tricks for you.
mirror ball
But
is
at the
too
same
important to me.
time, you know, being a person in the public eye, I've really begun to realize that you are a mirror. Like, you are a mirror for your fans, for the media, for people on the internet, for just random, just people who don't even really care about your music, but they know who you are. However they feel about themselves and their life will be projected onto how they perceive you.
Oh my god! I never thought about the song in that way. That is insane. Of course, people project their own insecurities to the other people. That is tea, Taylor. Oh my god. That is tea, that is tea, that is tea, that is tea, that is tea. Of course I know about Mirrorball, what it means. As in, sometimes you can take it as something that still needs to shine, something that has a lot of faces, something that you will reflect on. But that way of wording it as in their own ways of seeing themselves, it's also the way they see you. That's why it's a mirror. Wow, I never thought about that.
You.
Spinning in my highest heels, love, shining just for you.
A public person who makes art is a mirror ball. And that's part of why I've been able to keep my wits about me through all this, because I know that. And I'm really kind of aware of that dynamic, but I'm still endlessly fascinated by people, by the human experience, by why people are the way they are, by the ways that they feel emotion. I think that's what keeps us connected, even though, you know, you can make these kind of like shockingly vulnerable confessions within a song by being like, I've never been a natural, all I do is try. And you say that at first, and I
have
remember
no
writing that and
words.
being like, oh my God, this feels like, do you want to say this? And I'm like, actually, I feel like a lot of people feel that way. That always overrides my discomfort with if a line feels too true, because I don't really think that there's anything that's too true.
She's so right.
The whole
She's
thing
so
of All
right.
Too Well was that this was a very emotional rant that I did in like a sound check. We were rehearsing for the Speak Now tour. I was very sad in a way that, you know, you're like 21 years old and you're just like excruciatingly, just like you are. Sadness is you, you are sadness. I just, in a break, I just started playing the
Yes.
same 4 chords over and over again. It's basically the same 4 chords over and over again for the whole song. And it just became this thing where I just started rambling, and this thing went on for a really, really long time. It was like more than 10 minutes that this rambling rant went on, and it wasn't cohesive and it wasn't really that structured, but it felt afterward like, I think my mom or somebody went up to the sound guy and was like, did you by any chance record any of that? And he was like, yeah, I did. And I would have walked away from it if he didn't have a recording of it. So I went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh, here's this 10-minute, like, basically.
No. I need to. Was her mom who recorded that? Do we need to thank Andrea again for something? Did I know about this? I am actually so confused, but I want to point something. The fact that All Too Well, it's kind of simple structure in terms of the production, but the way she made that song what it is because of what she's saying, the emotions she's singing, people do not understand when we say that her songwriting and her delivery of emotions is her strongest thing. People always think of musicians as in the craziest production ever or the craziest vocals ever. You're wrong. You are wrong.
My mom or somebody went up to the sound guy and was like, did you by any
No.
chance record any of that?
So it was a
And he
sound guy.
and I would have
Thank you.
walked away from it if he
Thank
didn't have
you.
a recording of it. So I went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh, here's this 10-minute, like, basically catharsis of intense emotion. Like, there are some really angry, scathing parts that I was like, kind of gonna have to make this into a song that's a little bit more palatable, because I already felt so like raw putting that song out as detailed as it was. So then it goes out into the world. It didn't make a lot of noise, that song, for the first 6 months to a year, but then the fans just did a thing that they've done a few times where this song just keeps bubbling up. They did this with Cruel Summer too, where they're just like, no, we like it. We don't care if a label wants to put it out. We love this one. So I ended up playing it on the Grammys. I made the mistake of
Gauss. Guys, watch my reaction to the Grammy performances, because honestly, this performance, like, she was so mad. Oh my god, she was pissed off. And yes, we're just geniuses. We know when a song is worth it, and the world needs to know about it. And Cruel Summer, look at that, biggest song in her career in terms of streaming and recognition and stuff. You could argue. So yes, guys, and the 10-minute version now it's out, thanks to us. Well, and thanks to her for telling us, which she's gonna talk about that now. For longest song to be #1, like, I mean, we just got a taste.
I made the mistake of kind of explaining how the song came to be in an interview. It ended up being a really fortuitous mistake that turned into being like, oh, I'm so glad that happened. But for years, the fans were like, give us the 10-minute version, give us the 10-minute version. And I was like going back through diaries and finding like little fragments of it. And I didn't have the like old thing anymore. So I was looking through safes, trying to find the CD, but I had to go back and piece together lyrics and stuff. But that was the most extensive restoration process I've ever done on a song. I don't think I'll ever experience anything like that again.
We hereby come down.
There are so many different ways that a song begins in my world. I'll take an example like
Let's see.
the song Elizabeth Taylor. I'm riding in the car with Travis. I go on and explaining to Travis like why I love Elizabeth Taylor so much. She fought for artists' rights. She was exploited in so many ways, and yet she kept her humanity, she kept her humor, she kept her passion for life. And I'm just going on and on. I'm like, her eyes were violet. Some people said they were blue. Some people said they were violet. I think they were violet. And
She's
arrived,
so
we get
passionate.
home, he gets out of the car, and I'm just in my head, I'm like, this intrusive melody of like, I'd cry my eyes violet, Elizabeth Taylor. And I'm just like scrambling to open my record like app on my phone.
Elizabeth Taylor. You know, it's funny that she mentioned this song as how a song begins, because for months after getting the Life of a Showgirl, I was waking up each fucking day of my bed like, Elizabeth Taylor. That's how intense it sounds, like, oh boo. The other day on the Taylor Fest, I had a jump scare when this song played, because the way it starts, it's so cool. It's like punch. You don't expect that.
But that's like one of those spontaneous places where it floats down like a cloud in front of you, and all you have to do is grab it. And the song transpires from there. It comes as if from nowhere. That's a really fun way that songs come about. That's the way it happens most of the time.
Oh, no! Oh my god, I am so fucking stupid. She was not talking about how a song starts. She was talking about how a song starts to exist. Like the first thing she does when creating a song. Sorry guys, I'm so stupid. But anyway, what I was saying is also true. And it's so exciting that she just was talking about Elizabeth Taylor, then boom, sentence. Like, how that happens, it would never happen to me. I'm not able to create a melody or anything at all.
But that's the way it happens most of the time. Another way that a song could happen is that a producer that I love to work with, like Aaron Dessner or Jack Antonoff, could make an instrumental, send it to me, and immediately I'll write what's called a top line on top of it. That's the vocal melody and the lyrics. Another way of writing songs is that you're in the room with your collaborator, and one of you starts playing something. Like, for example, Jack starts playing this piano part, and it turns into this song called New Year's Day. That piano part was just like enough to springboard the entire song.
There's glitter on the floor after the party.
Writing sessions is a way that I love to write, because you're all in the room, everyone's bringing ideas, everyone's chiming in. I always apply the rule, may the best idea win. I don't care if it came from you, or me. If it's better, that's what goes in the song. And I do kind of like it when people challenge me on something, because I never want to be in the room with creators who are afraid that if they have a better idea, like they can't argue with me, because it must be my idea that makes it through. I'm never gonna grow that way.
Great.
Well,
Great,
I think
Taylor.
that, the 2010s was a time for women in the entertainment industry that, like, we need, like, we'll talk about it later. Like, we're all still limping away from that. And I think that conversations are much more healthy now around there's a difference between art and like going and ranting on an Instagram live. Like there's a difference. This is a song. This takes craft. This takes skill. This takes expertise. But I also am really excited that like I'm a massive Somber fan of his songwriting, and his lyrics are so intensely confessional. I don't like want another man's child to have the eyes of the girl I can't forget. Are you kidding me? Like having a male artist say stuff like that is really good for the cause of women to be able to say stuff. If there's any way we can make confessional songwriting a little bit more of something that isn't like, people take that as sort of like you were being messy or whatever, you have to be fair to everyone then. Are rap beefs messy or are they confessional? Like we've gotta just like, let's make it a music conversation rather than just like ganging up on the female artists. And I think the more male artists that are messy or emotionally complex or confessional or upset, the happier I am.
Oh my god, that is such a great feeling to have. And yes, I feel like somehow all this poppy songwriter thing comes more from girls, but yes, people like Somber, Harry Styles, I feel like it's important to have that kind of representation because we live in a misogynistic society that always tends to talking about something women do. In this case, if that's the confessional songwriter part of their career, it's because they're crazy, they're messy, they're too much, what she was saying.
The happier I am. I can only speak to me, but as I've grown up, the intensity of the sort of, no pun intended, message in a bottle nature of my songwriting has shifted and changed into something else. It used to be like, I can't tell a person how I feel, so I'll write it in this song. And that was really important for me at the time that it was important for me. It's also, you know, important when you're in your early 20s and there's someone you shouldn't talk to and you don't want to call them because they're bad for you and it's toxic, so you write it in the song and that's where it lives. Like almost as a method of like self-control or self-preservation or something. But
whoa, interesting.
the Folklore album and everything like that, it wasn't as a response to having a public life and the intrusions that come with that. It was really more of just wanting to challenge myself as a writer. I really have always just thought it would be so amazing to write books. And it's so exciting to have the challenge of, could I
hope you do one day.
Get enough plot points in a 3.5-minute song to where people felt like they read something after they heard it, or just take you back to that
literally
bedtime story, kind of tell me a story. I want to be able to put my own image on these characters. And it was really amazing when it opened up my world. I don't think my songwriting has ever been the same after Folklore. I have always had a little bit of that sort of character play in my songwriting since. And I hope it never goes anywhere because it's really fun.
You heard the rumors from Inez. You can't believe a word she says. Most
the way, she's not mentioned in Evermore, but they're kind of the same thing. Her evolution since then, it's outstanding. And you can clearly see that. She has referenced a lot of characters and people, now more Peter, Robin, Cassandra, Elizabeth Taylor, Fate of Ophelia, like on the Life of a Showgirl, there's a girl that is this character story. You can clearly see that after Folklore and Evermore.
I kind of like being a narrator that's not the person I relate to. So the narrator in Clara Bow is either a studio, like a Hollywood studio person or a label executive who's sitting in my mind behind a desk and meeting with a brand new starlet who's just come to town. The exec says, "You look like Clara Bow in this light. It's remarkable. You're so special, you're amazing, we're gonna make you just like her." In my mind, that girl was Stevie Nicks, right? So Stevie Nicks sits down, they tell her she looks like Clara Bow, she's got those big moon eyes, and we're gonna make you just like her. Don't worry, we're gonna put you through this machine and you'll be a god. The second verse says, "You look like Stevie Nicks in this light, the hair and lips." So in my mind, that was me that sat down opposite that desk, right? I sit down at a record label and they're like, "You look like Stevie Nicks, we'll make you the next Stevie Nicks." And basically, you learn that like you're in this machine and they're trying to make you into a woman that they just idealized and then discarded. Like the entertainment industry love bombs women, right? We love you. we don't know who you are, why are you even here? And so in the last verse,
Literally.
in my mind, it's a new artist that sits down across from a record label desk and they say, you look like Taylor Swift. In this light, we're loving it. You've got edge she never did. The future's bright, dazzling. And because that's also another thing that you get when you're a female in the music or the entertainment industry, movies, whatever. It's like, oh, you're like this person that we, like, they name a big name and they're like, oh, but you're gonna be so much better. It's gonna be so, no, it's gonna be cooler. You're
Yes.
so much better.
Yes, that's literally how it is.
To offset the comparison. On
She's
Red, there was
acting
a song that I wrote
perfectly.
alone in a hotel room when I was 22 years old called Nothing New, where it sounds ridiculous, but at 22 years old, I felt completely washed up. I felt like maybe the only thing that made me special was that I was this like teen phenom, whatever I was looked at as. So I wrote this song and it includes lines like, you know, how can a person know everything at 18 and nothing at 22? Because when I was 18, I had the Fearless album come out and I had my first international #1s and everybody was like, oh, this writing, it's so true, it's so honest. She feels like she deserves to be here. And then there was this big upheaval of, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. She sucks, actually. And it was like, it really turned the tables on my perception of like, love can be so quickly handed to you and then taken away. And it's this kind of strange thing with fame. And that was the first time I ever grappled with that. Somebody was like, oh, you're 22 years old and you're saying like, are you tired of me? If you're not yet, are you going to get tired of me? Because it's usually something that you would sing about later in life, but the entertainment industry, I'll tell you, there's 10 years for every year you're in it. But it's fun.
No. The way she's an icon. The way she has survived in 20 years and she's still on the top, like consistently. Why? That's why she's such a weird case. Because how do you manage to do that? They tried to cancel her. There's a lot of people hating on her, but somehow she has managed to be loved and praised by many more people than hated, you know? That's really weird. And she has reinvented herself and she has gone out of things like, for example, people saying she's not worth it during the Speak Now era. That's why she wrote Speak Now. Prayer Repetition, we don't even have to talk about that. Now with all the critics during these years, because she has grown so much as an artist, has become even bigger, she is still there. She's killing it. Like, that's why she's like satisfied with it. It's fun. I somehow managed to make it work. Clock them, girl. I mean,
You're in it, but it's fun.
as Sabrina said, I can do a lot of 50 minutes.
Songwriting is something that, it's a very intimate, tiny little thing for me. I have a lot of things I like to do. I like to bake, I like to make art, I like to paint, I like to sew, I like to write songs. And I try to keep it as like dear to me as those other things I just named. I have to know that like there's certain things that we have as a tradition between me and my fans. They love for an emotional song to be track 5. There's like special things like that, but at the same time, there's sort of so many of them now, which is great, but there's corners of my fan base who are gonna take things to a really extreme place. There's nothing I can do about that. There's people who are gonna try to like do detective work, figure out the details. Who is that about? What is this? When it gets a little bit weird for me is when people act like it's sort of like a paternity test. Like, this song's about that person, because I'm like, that dude didn't write the song I did. But that's part of it. You have to hold tight to your perception.
Thank you. Sometimes we get so lost, and I can blame myself sometimes on that too. I don't do it a lot, but sometimes I do. Like, is it more important the fact that she wrote a song, she's talking about her feelings, that whose man is about? You know? I want to hear that again.
Because I'm like, that dude didn't write the song I did. But that's part of it. You have to hold tight to your perception of your art and your relationship with it, and then you just kind of have to like, there it goes.
Yes.
Hope you like it. If you don't now, hope you do in 5 years. And and if you never do, then I was doing it for me anyway. Yeah, criticism has been a huge fuel for me. It's been a huge jumping off point, like a creative writing prompt or something. There are so many songs in my career that would not exist, like Blank Space, would not exist if I hadn't had people being like, here's a slideshow of all her boyfriends. Like, and then Anti-Hero is a song that I'm so proud of still. Like, that song doesn't exist if I don't get criticized for every aspect of my personality that people, you know, have a problem with or whatever.
Did you hear my covert narcissism?
Such three important things. We mentioned this already, but the fact that she does it for her, it's what makes us connect with her, because she doesn't try to please people. And it's irony. It's ironic because some people might say, oh my God, if she doesn't listen to the fans, she's never gonna understand what they want. We want what she wants, in the sense that even if we don't like a song, we can appreciate it for what it is and accept that. And if you are doubtful about it, then think why the hell she is so popular, why the hell she is the biggest artist of the century. Yeah, the century. I mean, there's a reason for that, and not a lot of people trust their guts the way she does. The fact that she's always able to take criticism as a weapon and returns it. The Snake thing, for example, such a great example of that, and some of the biggest hits are about that. Blank Space, Anti-Hero. Like, that is something that you need really to work on. It does not, like, maybe it affects you, but then you just take it and you make it yours. That way people cannot attack you with that anymore. Oh, such a great thing that I learned from
You know,
her,
have a
honestly.
problem with or whatever.
Did you hear my covert narcissism, like disguises altruism?
My favorite thing when I sit down with new artists or songwriters is I'm like, why are you reading your comments? Like, that's too much of it. Like, you're inundating yourself with too much criticism that doesn't really have a focus. But I think a little bit of it, you gotta just be like, this is part of it. Like, don't make this make you stop writing or make you edit yourself or whatever. If it's an interesting point to you to kind of respond to, then that's a gift for you to be able to write something. Maybe you wouldn't have written something that day. But don't like, God, don't go to the like notes app and post it. Like, write about it. Right, make art about this. Don't respond to like trolls in your comments. That's not what we want from you. We want your art.
Thank you for ending with Getaway Car. Yes, oh my God. And people are criticizing her with songs like Actually Romantic, thinking that, oh my God, she can never get over the fact that people criticize her. She gives it too much, like she makes it like a big deal. No, she uses that as a creative source. It's so clever because she can get songs from things that other people won't. So it's clear that she doesn't give a fuck anymore, or for a long time, what people talk about her. But it's clear that she uses that as a weapon, not a weapon, like as a way of keeping her mind alive and creative and evolve, and that is so cool. Oh my God, this was so interesting. I loved it in ways that I cannot explain. Sorry if I talk so much, but it's just for a Swiftie. It's just like the biggest present you can give us. Thank you so much for accepting to do this interview. Thank you for including her in the top 30 songwriters. Of course, I mean, is there like any doubt about it? And I'm so happy to be on the internet, and that some haters of Taylor could be able to get to this and lose their mind because they don't understand why we love her so much, because that just makes it more special. Like, it's exclusive. You all don't get it. Sometimes you just cannot get it. I'm sorry, this is not for you. This is for us. Anyway, that was really, really good, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I hope that I can upload this on YouTube. Please, please, please. What was your favorite thing she said? Anything new you learned? What is the life lesson Taylor has given you since you're a fan? To me, that the main thing probably is like that, take that criticism and make it yours, so that it doesn't affect you, they cannot attack you with that anymore. This was really cool, guys. I enjoyed it so much. If you right here, thank you so much for staying until the end, for listening to me, maybe for ranting, for losing your mind with me. And I'm gonna leave it here now, and we will see each other soon. You know, for what? To keep fanboying and fangirling. Adios!